Hi, friends. Welcome back to Lights On, a Neuro Moms Collective podcast. This is part two of our conversation with our daughters. Amanda's daughter, Sadie, joins us, as well as my daughter, Olivia. In our previous episode, we started with the foundation of what happened when their siblings experienced TBIs, the shame, the grief, all the things that go with that process. Now we're going to, in the second half of the episode, we're going to talk about how healing begins, how you make peace with your families, how you learn to accept this new version of a sibling that you have, and all of the joy and all of the fear that comes with that. It's a really candid, very vulnerable conversation. For me, it was the hardest podcast we've recorded yet, because seeing my daughter hurt is hard on my mama heart. But we are going to talk about it. Nothing is off limits. So we hope that you join us and recognize that there is lots of light out there. If you didn't listen to part one, we encourage you to do that first. Thank you so much. Here we are.
Yeah. And Olivia, I don't know you, but I know you through your mother and just the way she talks about you and how invested in your life she is. I know that time had to be so conflicting because we can't be in two places at once. We can't be super moms. We want to love our family and love our kids the best we can. We're not after any trophies or accolades. We just want to be present in those special moments when you're falling in love. I want to be on the field trips, muffins with moms. Every little moment of 9-year-old Sadie that I could and couldn't be at, I wanted to be at. As parents, we don't want to miss out on anything. And it's trying to choose where we feel we have to be at that moment in time. Doesn't always make the other child feel the way that we want them to feel. Those are just tough spots to be in.
Sadie, I wonder if you can think back on that time about anything that you felt like, yeah, that was a really good thing that happened in my life. I got involved in this thing, or this friend came along. Anything that really anchored you during that time that might be helpful to other families with youngins?
I remember spending a lot of time with my grandparents and my cousins, and that was very healing to me. I would be at my grandma's farm most days after school because dad was at work late or he was doing something, and I was at the farm with grandma, and I'm hanging out in the goat pens with my cousins, running around, not wearing shoes, doing things I would probably be getting yelled at for. It distracted me from trying to run my brain as an adult and acting like a 9-year-old child. Truthfully, that was my escape from everything. Being at the farm with my grandma, or sitting and just talking with them, or going to Kmart and getting toys with Grandma Ree. I spent a lot of time that I remember with family. I did make a lot of very good friends at school, and they truthfully got me through every day. I don't think I would have made it through most of that year without the people that I hung out with. Like, I had my childhood best friend, and me and her talked every single day. We were in all the same classes, and she was like my protector. I wish, looking back, I would have spent more time with her outside of school to act like a 9-year-old kid. Those things took me out of my anxious processing fight or flight mode and brought me back to being the child I was at the time.
Olivia's stepdad, Kelly, passed away when she was 12. He'd been sick for not very long, but he'd been in the hospital for about 3 weeks. We found out that he passed during the day and went to school to tell her in person. I was like, let's go home.
Yeah.
What did you want?
I did not want to go home. I was like, I'm going back to class because I didn't want to think about it. I'm just going to pretend like life is normal when it obviously wasn't.
I think for parents, sometimes we feel like our kids should grieve the way we are grieving. But I think if your kid can have a slumber party, if your kid can go to a school dance that's happening, or, like if there's something that is distracting and fun, obviously at some point you have to talk about and process grief. You can't ignore it forever. But I don't think there's anything wrong. And in fact, I think there's a lot good about letting kids be kids and not having to share the same emotional burden that the adults in the room are having to share. because they're kids.
As adults, we are up here thinking about all of these different things that are happening, and we don't want our kids to have to worry about those things. And I think that is where my mindset is always, let's just get back on the horse and keep moving forward. I wanted Sadie to be at school with her friends and around people, but it doesn't take away those feelings inside your little heart.
And I wonder if a mistake that parents make is that when one child is desperately ill or injured, they're so afraid to let the other children or child out of their view that they want to drag that child with them everywhere they go. I know you're safe, Olivia, if you're with me at the hospital, even though that's not the best place for you. So if parents can remember that it's really hard if you have one child, especially in something like a car accident, where another child could experience that. I think there is this need to bring your kids all in. I don't know that that's thinking about the needs of the child in the same way. So, Olivia, I asked Sadie if there was anything that was really helpful for her during that. Now, obviously, you were 22 and it was a different thing, but were there things that were useful in helping you navigate this from a physical distance and also at a different age?
I think similar to Sadie, definitely having a good support system nearby. I live in Washington, D.C., and so I think leaning into my friends there, my boyfriend's family, my boyfriend, and focusing on things that make me happy. So I think that's definitely what kind of kept me going. And also talking to Dad. Sometimes I didn't always want to call you because you were always between doctor's appointments or helping out Dallas. Very understandable. But kind of having a different outlook of the situation. I feel like Dad is just very objective. Like, this is what's happening. You're a very emotional person. And Dad is a very logical person. Getting both sides, you know, Dallas is going through this from you, and then kind of hearing Dad's point of view as well. Checking in with you guys and hearing that you were carving out time for yourself was giving me comfort because you were doing so much.
When the kids were little, we used to do a thing called divide and conquer, where we would pick a Saturday and we would each take a kid and we'd flip a coin or whatever, and we would go spend the day with just that kid. We were all really used to being with different, you know, one kid, one parent in different configurations. And I think that during a lot of that, it was a divide and conquer mentality. You don't know this, but you would call me sometimes and I would be running between things. And I would say, and I would mean it with every fiber of my being, let me call you back after this appointment. I'll call you right back. And I would realize 8 hours later, when it was the middle of the night for her, that I'd never called her back. And I would just start sobbing that I had lied to you, that I had disappointed you, that I said I'd call you back. Oh my gosh, you're thinking I don't care and that I don't love you. And it was just that my brain couldn't do more. Like, kids should have better than what they have in this situation.
Olivia, I kind of hear you saying, like, as you were so far away, like some of your ways to stay connected were through Dad, but also still some of those check-ins with your mom because of the distance for you and not being able to travel and having some significant health issues that prevent you from being in the state where your brother was. That distance had to feel like a lot, but then at the same time probably felt a little safe too, because you weren't involved in the day-to-day.
Yes, for sure. In therapy myself, we've started talking about, I think, my own anxiety and trauma with my stepdad and my mom passing. I think I've always been ready for the next shoe to drop. When the whole Dallas thing happened, I did feel a lot of both guilt and comfort being far away, because sometimes I felt it wouldn't benefit me to be there. Processing all of that was like so messy and hard and confusing. And so, yeah, definitely kind of a weird feeling, kind of being far away and feeling like maybe it's good for me to be far away, but also feeling guilty that I felt like maybe because of my own anxieties that I was doing things wrong and I was too far away. Yeah.
It's so lousy. It's so hard.
It is.
I'm sorry, honey. So a question I have for both of you is, and maybe it's too hard to answer, but I'm going to ask it. For both of you, the sibling that you were close with and the relationship that you had before the accident, the AVM rupture and the car accident, we have a new Dallas. And how lucky we are to have this Dallas, how amazingly lucky and grateful we are. And Dallas died. We have a different person. And there's no way to grieve that. I don't know how to grieve it. Your relationship changed. You guys were the best of. You talked all the time. And then he lost his ability to speak. 3 years later, he still really can't speak very well. Certainly not to have the kind of conversations that you used to have. Do you allow yourself to think about that loss?
I think it's unavoidable to not think about it. Dallas is my older brother, and Dallas's love language is acts of service. And just because Dallas can do less physically, our dynamic did change a lot. Like, he was just that classic older brother that took care of me. Like, we lived together in college. Losing the old Dallas was very hard, and just hard not to think about. And it's still hard to think about.
There are so many pictures in our house of Dallas always giving, not that he always did it, but regularly, oh, there's a puddle, get on my back, I'll give you a piggyback ride over the puddle. He loves that prom pose, like jump up in his arms and I'll hold you, because he's a foot taller than her. And, you know, like, it was a very physical relationship. He was a very silly, physical, affectionate person. The love language, like she's saying, of acts of service. He was fixing cars. He'd help you move. He was always strong, and it's really hard to see him weak.
Mm-hmm.
These podcasts are hard. I know. Sadie, the same question for you, if you feel up to it, like grieving the loss of the relationship that you had with Mackenzie and then the new one.
I, for so many years, wouldn't let myself think about it. Like every loss, I would push it to the back of my brain and move on. This is the new Mackenzie, we just gotta deal with it. As I've gotten older and dynamics have changed, I'm not 9 anymore. I'm 19, I'm a grown adult, I'm in the working world. It crosses my mind a lot, and oh my gosh, I'm gonna start crying. Good Lord. It's difficult because I feel like I didn't get a normal childhood with my big sister, with any of my siblings, because things changed so quickly for all of us. Ethan moved out later on that year. Catherine's 13 years older than me, so she wasn't even at the house. Dynamics changed so quickly. Mackenzie wasn't doing as much anymore. It was just very weird because I felt like we didn't slow down and I started doing stuff. It was weird watching my super strong and determined sister fall back a little bit. And even now, like, there's things that I know she wishes she could have continued doing until her older years that she can't do anymore. That, like, hurts my heart because those are things that I do in my day-to-day and I don't even think about it. I had the opportunity to continue playing sports and she couldn't because it caused her so much pain. For a while, I felt so guilty because I get this opportunity and she doesn't. That's something I've had to continue working through. I can't go back and change the past as much as I would like to. It's good to think about the sister I had before the accident as much as it is to think about the Mackenzie I have now. She's just as amazing of a human as she was before. The dynamics have just changed, and she just can't do a lot of the stuff we used to do when I was little.
I always find such comfort when Dallas makes a new friend now, because they're meeting him exactly as he is now, and that's the person they like. Mackenzie's husband Eric met her after the TBI, and he loves this Mackenzie. For those of us that were around and loved TBI survivors before, part of the love we have is that holdover, that we can, love is love. Like, I've committed to love this person, I'm in it. But to have somebody come on new and fall in love with that person in a friendship, in a romance, whatever, that's such a gratifying thing because they love that new version. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm okay.
This is pretty heavy stuff.
It is.
Is there anything else, Amanda, you want to bring up before we sign off?
Is there anything that you would want to say to a caregiver or siblings that are dealing with a family member that has a TBI? All of them are different, but there's some similar threads.
I just feel like, I know in our situation, just not being so hard on yourself, no matter what age you are, whatever you can contribute, you can contribute. I put so much pressure on my 9-year-old body to carry all this weight and do all these things at home, and I couldn't. I did my part, which was get up, go to school, be present at school, come home, distract dad, keep everyone in a good mood, and do the same thing the next day. Just try to keep that routine and not take as much guilt on as I did.
Do you feel that therapy has been something that you would recommend for other families?
Therapy has been possibly one of the best decisions I've ever made. I bounced between quite a few, but it has helped me tremendously. I used to not even be able to talk about Mackenzie's injuries or the accident without sobbing. And now I can recite the entire accident and keep myself together, which 9-year-old me couldn't do. I think going to therapy and getting yourself help is one of the best things you can do.
I know for Sadie, it was really good to have that outside person to talk and share about, especially early on when she was 9, 10. Because again, unfortunately, I didn't have the time to sit down and listen to little Sadie talk and share. I was at the hospital, I was at rehab, and when I wasn't, I was trying to do fun things with Sadie. So for us to have that outside person, for her to be able to go to talk and share and get that other perspective, I think it was very beneficial for her. But it also takes time because your 9-year-old brain is very different than your 19-year-old brain. Being able to process that information and see the world in a different way is not easy.
Olivia, what about you with therapy? Do you feel like that was something you should have had more access to? We're only 3 years out. What do you think about therapy for being the sibling of a situation like this?
Yeah, I think my default is to just suppress everything. I think therapy is incredibly beneficial and useful. Kind of what Amanda was saying, just to have some outside person to speak to and trust. I think processing the situation through therapy is very helpful and has been helpful for me.
When the things that we get to say in therapy that we wouldn't say to somebody else,
Yeah.
I can't speak for any other parent, but I know many times I wondered if I did the right thing keeping Dallas alive. I wondered if I should keep fighting to keep him alive. And those are things you're not supposed to say out loud. You're supposed to say, I'd do anything to keep my child alive. I didn't want to keep my child in a body that was alive with a life that was not going to allow him anything close to the life that he wanted. And those are things you're not supposed to say out loud. And then as a sibling, there might be anger towards that sibling. You get in the accident, you get all the attention, you get a GoFundMe. Dallas cannot hold a job. Dallas is retired at 27 years old. She has to go to work. There's all these other things that, at times, even if it's not who you really are to your core values, you might want to say, I can't believe they get these things, or that I didn't. Like, ugly things that don't really match who we are. We want to say them out loud and take the stigma away.
I think something I struggled with was I tend to overthink things. When Dallas's brain injury happened, I wanted to be there as best as I could. Being so far away, I sometimes just wouldn't show up at all because I felt like if I can't show up in the way I want, then I just wouldn't. I think definitely just like giving, as a sibling, giving yourself space and just understanding like whatever, like in any capacity that you show up, it's going to be appreciated and accepted. And we're not doing anything wrong if you need to give yourself space as well.
To be 22, to be 9, to be in school, to be dating, to start a new job. I will tell you what I think is a hilarious story, which is the first time that Liv got to see Dallas in Texas. We flew her in as a surprise because she could come to San Antonio where he was. So this was like 2 months after the accident. They'd been FaceTiming, but Dallas couldn't speak, so it wasn't much of a connection. We flew her in, and he was getting an appointment outside of his hospital room. I was like, oh, Liv, this will be great. So we went down and we got him his favorite little Starbucks, and we go up to his room, and we're sitting in his room in chairs waiting so that when he comes back, and he was still using a wheelchair back then, he didn't really have any body strength. And we think he's going to come back in the hospital room. They're going to push him in. He's going to see his sister. He's going to lose his mind, right? We have this fantasy. I'm videotaping this. I am waiting for this moment. And they come and they open the door and they push him in, and he acknowledges neither of us. And I'm like, hey, Dallas. And he's like, hey. And he doesn't even acknowledge his sister. And I'm like, oh, no, he doesn't remember her. He doesn't recognize her. And I am now a million emotions. We didn't know the appointment that he was at, y'all, was a vision therapy appointment. And they had dilated his eyes so much that he couldn't hear. He did not know Olivia was there. And I was like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe this. He had no idea she was there. Very funny. So then I was like, Dallas, your sister's here. And he was like, where? She went in the bed with him and brought him his little Starbucks drink, and then it was great. But he couldn't see the 15 feet away. So, so he's going to be glimmers of humor in all of this disaster. So Amanda and Sadie, I want to thank you so much. Sadie, thank you for being vulnerable and open and honest and recognizing that you were just a baby and you did a great job, and you have nothing to be sad about or regretful of because you did a great job and you've turned into such a amazing young woman. And your mom is so proud. I'm so happy you're part of this journey. And I cannot wait to figure out how we make Neuromoms Collective a thing. Because, Olivia works in nonprofits and Sadie's like, I'll work with you guys. So we have to figure out this funding so we can run the world and you can show us how to use the technology. And Olivia, I want to thank you for being vulnerable and honest as well. Having these conversations with people you care about when you don't want to hurt them and you want to be truthful sometimes can be really challenging. I love you.
Love you.
Amanda, let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay, we have resources and a quote as always. Sadie, could you read the quote for us, please?
Family and friends are the true first responders. They're the ones who are on the front lines of the battle and who suffer the emotional wounds. Thomas F. Harrison and Hillary S. Connor.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And we have 2 resources for this week. We'll link them in the show notes. These are both designed for siblings of ill or injured siblings. The first one is geared towards little kids. Pediatric Palliative Care Coalition is one. They've got great resources for siblings. For adult siblings experiencing trauma or illness, especially if it's left them with disabilities, is the siblingleadership.org. And that organization helps adult siblings figure out how to be better advocates and communicators with their sibling who's changed through medical trauma. I want to thank you all for being here and anybody listening at home. We hope that you found some shimmers and glimmers in this one. Please like and subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Thank you for joining us, and remember to keep the lights on.